Hi, Anime Guy here. Previously, we saw Kotoko preparing to begin an all-out internet attack on Rika-san, while Kuro-kun prepares to do battle with the Steel Lady. The fight between the Steel Lady and Kuro-kun is still on. Meanwhile, Kotoko has her hands full trying to convince people on the internet that the Steel Lady is nothing more but a fiction. This is the only way to destroy the story of the Steel Lady. While she's busy lying on the internet, Kotoko tells Saki-san to watch out for any significant changes to Kuro-kun. Kotoko starts by saying that the legend of the Steel Lady was nothing more than just a myth, or in her own words, an urban legend. She backed it up with the fact that no one had actually seen the Steel Lady. The only thing people had been seeing were just evidences or traces of the so-called Steel Lady. She came to a conclusion that someone was indeed the person committing the crime and pinning it on the Steel Lady. She used the incident of Tarada, a detective who was murdered in cold blood by someone who was meant to be believed to be the Steel Lady. She made instances on what could have happened and how it could have happened. In one of her instances, she used the fact that someone could have just made up the story of the Steel Lady just to kill the detective. But this wasn't enough to convince the public, so she went further to say that the killer, knowing that the detective was good at his job, could have made a plan to lure the detective out of his office. The plan would have involved a distress call from someone who testified that he had encountered the Steel Lady in a nearby city, Makirazaka City. The detective would then answer the distress call by going to the exact location given to him. But before calling, the killer would set a trap to kill the detective. A trap involving a stone and the action of a pendulum, which would be triggered by a remote. The detective on arrival would be lured onto a marked spot, and then the killer would have pressed the button on the remote, which would make the stone come swinging. The stone would be made to target the head, thus making it look like the Steel Lady used her steel beam to smash the head of the detective. Although the interpretation was good, the people refused to take it as the case. They didn't believe that anyone would have gone through so much stress to kill the detective. Kotoko again tried to twist the story a little to try to convince the people, but yet again, the people didn't believe the theory. Kotoko realizes that the Riki-san, who apparently was the creator of the urban legend, was, in fact, the one disguising to make the public misinterpret what Kotoko was trying to explain. Kotoko wasn't ready to give up just yet, so she decides to use Plan B. Throughout, Kuro-kun has been receiving a beatdown, courtesy of the Steel Lady. Kotoko decides to use solution number 2 to win the minds of the public. The solution involved trying to establish why a ghost would just appear. She planned that if she could establish the fact, then she would be able to capitalize on it. She starts by saying that the Steel Lady is in fact a real ghost, and then she asks what would have made the ghost of Nanase Karin to come back as the Steel Lady. Someone replied that it was circumstance in which Nanase died that made her come back as a ghost. Kotoko replied, saying that indeed what was published on the death of Nanase was said to be suicidal. Kotoko said it wasn't suicide, that yes, Nanase was very sad the day she died because she was being suspected for the murder of her father, so people assumed that it was Nanase who took away her own life out of guilt. Kotoko said that Nanase didn't come back for vengeance, but instead came back as a ghost to try and change the thoughts of people concerning her father's death. But since it wasn't working, Nanase decided to do it violently. Kotoko backed up what she said by saying if Nanase came back for vengeance, then she would have gone back by now because she had already killed the detective who was investigating the case of her father. Kotoko gave an instance that what if Nanase's father actually fell down the staircase on his own? Maybe he knew that Nanase would be the one people would blame for his death. Kotoko comes to a conclusion that in order to drag his daughter down, Nanase's father took his own life, leaving a note which pointed out that Nanase wanted to get rid of him. Nanase, in order to keep herself away from falling, decided to dispose of the note, but was unfortunate to have gotten an accident which was close to suicide. The accident in question involved Nanase and steel beams. The steel beams fell on her head, resulting in instant death. Kotoko gave another instance that what if after dying, Nanase's soul reunited with that of her father who had died before her. Then her father told her everything that he had done done to bring her down, which would in fact be the main reason for Nanase's spirit to come back as the Steel Lady. Although some people believed in what Kotoko was trying to say, the rest refused to be convinced. Due to the fact that some people started believing in what Kotoko was trying to say, the Steel Lady started becoming weak. The fight between Kuro-kun and the Steel Lady started favoring Kuro-kun. Kotoko results to the third solution. The third solution involved painting the picture that it wasn't Nanase that died in the accident. Instead, it could have been someone else. But because of the severity of the injury to the face, they couldn't exactly recognize who was involved in the accident. Although she gave an instance on what could have happened, Rike-san again interrupts. Rike-san gives an instance of why such a thing was not possible. This sends Kotoko back to base 1. The battle between Rike-san and Kotoko becomes a popularity contest. Although Kotoko is left with her last and only resort, Rike-san, on the other hand, is waiting to counter anything Kotoko wants to say. Kotoko realizes that the only way she could win the battle against Rike-san is by turning the cards. By turning the cards, she will achieve her goal of preventing Rike-san from spoiling her mission. So, she decides to unleash the final blow. She started by saying that the person that killed the detective and is acting as the Steel Lady is Nanase Karin. She further stated that Nanase Karin wasn't dead, but alive. She explained that Nanase would have planned to start all over, and in order to do that, she needed to fake her death. So, she got to be friends with someone of her age that had almost had the same physique as her. She made the decoy her friend, dressed the decoy similar to herself, and on that fateful night killed the decoy and smashed the decoy's face beyond repair. She stated that Nanase did all these so she could get a fresh start without being noticed. She further said that Nanase used the decoy identity to start a new life. She made it clear to the public that Nanase fooled them into thinking that she was dead using the faceless corpse, thus concluding that there could never have been a ghost known as the Steel Lady. The public became confused and started asking questions. Rike-san realized that the people were no longer concerned about the Steel Lady, but all they wanted was to find out about Nanase. They were more curious and persistent to know that if Nanase was dead or not. Due to this, the Steel Lady became weaker. The people started drawing their own conclusions on the Steel Lady. They started putting together all the 3 theories Kotoko told them together. They started seeing the link between everything. Rike-san knew that the end was near, and it was coming fast. The people lost their interest in the Steel Lady and started drawing different conclusions. Rike-san started understanding why Kotoko drew many conclusions. She wished she could go back in time and stop it, but it was too late. Kotoko finally spoke. She said that in order to break the silence on her death, Nanase made up the Steel Lady, carried a steel beam, and was walking about. Then one day while patrolling, the detective saw her and thought something was suspicious and decided to follow her. Knowing that she would be caught, Karin decided to take out the detective and smash his face. The smashing of his face was to convince people that the Steel Lady was real. Kotoko ended everything by saying Nanase created the website in which rumors were spreading, and she was the admin of the website. She said that Nanase was the one defending everything she said before, and was indeed doing everything to hide the truth. The public loses interest in the Steel Lady and get more interested in trying to find Nanase. This made the Steel Lady weak, and so Kuro-kun saw the opportunity to destroy the Steel Lady once and for all. Kuro finally defeated the Steel Lady with her signature beam. Kotoko was happy that the Steel Lady, formed out of lies, was finally defeated with the same lies. Rike-san, knowing everything was over, emailed Kuro-kun and deleted the Steel Lady website. Though the Steel Lady was finally defeated, the police were still carrying out investigations to find Nanase Karin. Knowing that the threat had been defeated, the monsters and yokai in the forest came out to celebrate with Kotoko, but the celebration is cut short by Kuro-kun. Kuro-kun and Kotoko enter the car with Saki-san. Kotoko, out of exhaustion, falls asleep finally, allowing Saki-san and Kuro-kun to talk. Kuro-kun drops Saki-san off at her place. The next day, Saki-san goes back to work at the police department. Though her colleagues were busy with the investigation on Nanase, she knew the truth. true. She knew that Nanase was actually dead, and the Steel Lady was actually a ghost, but she couldn't say anything, as no one was going to believe her. In the night, Kuro-kun goes out to get dinner, and is met by Saki-san. They talk, and he reveals to her the main reason why he couldn't let Rike-san know about Kotoko. He said that if Rike-san knew about Kotoko, then she would probably go after Kotoko next. He said he doesn't want to put Kotoko into any trouble. Kuro-kun and Saki-san finally find time to talk about their relationship. She tells him that she's only happy to at least sit across a table to him, but would be reluctant to touch him. Kuro-kun takes her home to give her the gift which Kotoko wanted to give her. The gift was a bicycle. The next morning, Kotoko is amazed to find out that she had slept for more than a day. She comes to realize that she gave Kuro-kun and Saki-san too much time alone, and so at some point, she becomes angry, but gets over it after some time. She goes to take a shower. Not long after she enters the shower, Kuro-kun enters her room to try and check up on her. She jumps out of the shower and onto Kuro-kun's body. They talk for some time, then proceed to check out of the hotel. Their next destination happens to be Kotoko's residence. Kuro-kun is a little reluctant to go, but after some persuasion from Kotoko, he agrees to go. On their way, Kotoko holds Kuro-kun's hands tightly to show off her love for him. It was also to show gratitude that he hadn't left her yet. Will Rike-san achieve her aim of turning mortal? We'll find out that and more in due time. For now, kindly like this video and subscribe to our channel to get more anime recaps like this. Till then, take care and stay safe.